if I'm going to do something, I'm going to be 2 feet in. And I've chose to do that in Web3 and crypto because I get an excitement. It gives me the same adrenaline rush that I did or that I had for like a Game 7 in NBA Finals. That's what crypto gives me, that burning sensation inside.
Bankless Nation, very excited for this episode. We have lawyer Paul Grewal and NBA pro athlete Tristan Thompson on Bankless today. We got law and basketball, and the thing that unites both these guests, I think, is crypto. We'll get into that. Welcome to Bankless, guys.
Appreciate having us. Excited to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Paul, how's it going, man?
Going well. How are you, sir?
I'm good. You're holding up the coffee shop meetings and all that stuff, man. It's a change of pace for you.
It is a bit of a change of pace, but I'm most excited about our Cavs. You know, they're looking good this fall. They're looking really good.
Guys, we actually have to get into this. So, Paul, you are the chief legal officer of Coinbase. Tristan, you're an NBA athlete. This is an interesting combination for a podcast episode. How do you guys know each other? Paul, are you just like a Cavs fan? Is that what happens? And Tristan,
Well,
you're a crypto fan?
I'm a Cavs fan for sure. Been rooting for Cleveland going back now 40 plus years. My heroes were guys like Ron Harper, Brad Daugherty, Sean Kemp, and now Tristan Thompson. And so when I saw Tristan, yeah, it's true. It's true. Much respect to what Tristan, you and that team in 2016 were able to pull off for us. Much respect. But
yeah. Paul, are you from Ohio? Are you from Ohio?
I am born and raised in Northeast Ohio. So
which part?
Yeah. Akron. Went to LeBron's rival high school.
Okay. Okay.
So I've been following the travails of the Cavs for many years, but obviously when I saw Tristan, take such a prominent role and start giving prominent voice on all topics crypto, I thought, if I ever had the chance to chat with him, I'd have to take advantage of that. We thought we'd take advantage of that opportunity today.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, you know what I start to realize, especially being in the space, how many people in the Web3 crypto space, love basketball. I think it's such a, the way I look at sports right now, it's an entertainment, but it's almost a way to kind of bring different worlds together and have that unity and it's an excitement, right? I think the same way where people get excited when the charts are pumping is the same way you guys get excited when you see a fast break dunk or a guy get a major poster or making a game-winning three, right? It's all the same type of adrenaline rush.
100%. And it's also global, right? Like everywhere all over the world, people want to be a part of it. And so, yeah, I think the overlap is really, really strong.
Yeah.
Tristan, it's not often that we have pro athletes on a Bankless. As the Bankless listenership will know, Ryan and I are just massive sports fans. Every single sport. And I'm totally kidding. My heart got ripped out of my soul when it comes to NBA when the Sonics got traded to OKC back when I was a child, and I unfortunately haven't watched too much basketball since. But I do know that a lot of pro sport athletes love getting paid in Bitcoin. And now there's like a series of just history of some pro sports athletes just talking about this, and I kind of want to ask from your perspective. Why this is true. This is Russell Ong who tweeted out in 2019, pay me in Bitcoin. And so the lore behind this is like he had like a $13 million contract that from the Panthers. And he demanded that half of that be paid in Bitcoin price at the time of the contract. And that Bitcoin price was $22,000. And when he was finally paid, Bitcoin ended up being traded at $88,000. So his $6 million got turned into $20 million. But this is not just one story. This is not just the only story about pro athletes falling in love with crypto. There's Sean Culkin, Aaron Rodgers, Odell Beckham Jr., Klay Thompson. There's just a collection of people who decided to get paid out in their contracts with Bitcoin. We won't talk about Tom Brady, but it goes even further than that. There's pro sport athletes that have gotten endorsements with crypto. But over the years, I've just noticed a particularly strong resonance between pro athletes and crypto. Why do you think that is?
I think that this is the reality. Right? I think the way you can explain it, and if your cousin or aunt or uncle asked, why did they do that, right? I think it's the reality is that this, first of all, you give a lot of these guys a lot of credit by doing their homework and researching. But I think just from a very general perspective, it's a form of just, hedging your bet, but also looking at it as an investment, right? I think to get to the pro level, you have to invest in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. And I think that's why a lot of guys that are in pro sports always tend to put themselves in a position of believing what the runway can look like and what the opportunity is. So for guys like Russ, Odell, Aaron Rodgers, even myself, even now, just understanding the amazing technology that's built behind that. But the reality is that, the gains and the potential earnings is far more greater than whatever these institutions can provide to you, whether it's on the money market or when they come and say, hey, we'll give you 4% a year and you should be licking our chops and thanking us so much for this. But it's like the reality is that there's so many other avenues, opportunities like taking, putting your money in Bitcoin or ETH that you can get way higher gains than one can even imagine.
Introducing Frax USD, the genius-aligned digital dollar from Frax. It's secure, stable, and fully backed by institutional-grade real-world assets, custodied by BlackRock, Superstate, and Fidelity. It's always redeemable one-to-one, transparently audited, and built for payments, DeFi, and banking. The best of all worlds. At the core is FRAXNET, an on-chain fintech platform built to align with emerging U.S. regulatory frameworks, where you can mint, redeem, and use Frax USD with just a few clicks. Deposit USDC, send a bank wire, or tokenize treasuries, and receive programmable digital dollars straight to your wallet. FRAXNET users benefits from the underlying return of US treasuries and earn just by using the system. Whether you're bridging, minting, or holding, your Frax USD works for you. Frax isn't just a protocol, it's a digital nation, powered by the Frax token and governed by its global communities. Join that community and help shape Frax Nation's future by going to frax.com/r/bankless. Frax, designed for the future of compliant digital finance. Ethereum's layer 2 universe is exploding with choices, but if you're looking for the best place to park and move your tokens, make your next stop UNICHAIN. First, liquidity. UNICHAIN hosts the most liquid Uniswap v4 deployment on any layer 2, giving you deeper pools for flagship pairs like ETH USDC. More liquidity means better prices, less slippage, and smoother swaps, exactly what traders crave. The numbers back it up. UNICHAIN leads all layer 2s in total value locked for Uniswap v4. And it's not just deep, it's fast and fully transparent, purpose-built to be the home base for DeFi and cross-chain liquidity. When it comes to costs, UNICHAIN is a no-brainer. Transaction fees come in about 95% cheaper than Ethereum mainnet, slashing the price of creating or accessing liquidity. Want to stay in the loop on UNICHAIN? Visit unichain.org or follow @UNICHAIN on X for all the updates. Bit Digital, ticker BTBT, is a publicly traded ETH treasury company that combines the two biggest metas of our time, Ethereum and AI compute. Bit Digital believes that ETH will power finance and AI compute will power everything. Bit Digital gives you direct exposure to both. Bit Digital holds more than 150,000 ETH with institutional grade staking and validator operations. On top of that, the company owns roughly 73% of White Fiber, an AI infrastructure business that runs high-performance GPU data centers. That adds a meaningful exposure to the growth of AI compute with over 27 million shares. This is an ETH treasury backed by real operations, designed to capture staking yield today while positioning for the future of intelligent computing tomorrow. The ticker is BTBT. This ad is not financial advice. Do your own research, learn more about Bit Digital, and try their MNAV calculator at bit-digital.com. That's bit-digital.com. Bankless is being compensated by Bit Digital for this ad. You can find out more information by clicking the link in the show notes. Part of the story I'm wondering, if I had to give my answer to this, and I'm not a pro sports athlete, so I know very little, but I would imagine a typical story for a pro athlete is that, they make it pro and then their first contract with the NFL, NBA, MLB is millions of dollars. And so they kind of get whiplashed from not having a lot of money to having a ton of money. And I would expect that there's just a lot of baggage that comes with that. All of a sudden, there's a lot of people who are saying to them, "Hey, let me manage your money, your money for you. Let me do that on your behalf. Like, you are now wealthy. Like, let me take a cut of that, and I will help invest." And there can be variations on level of trust, how trustworthy and how honest these people are, these money managers are. And then, on the flip side of things, there's Bitcoin, which is don't trust anyone. Don't trust banks, don't trust financial advisors, don't trust anyone. Just use Bitcoin. I'm wondering if that story kind of resonates with you. It's just like, I don't really know who to trust with my windfall of capital, but that's exactly kind of the nature of Bitcoin. It's like, trust no one. Is there something to that story?
Yeah, there's definitely some correlation. I think the reality is this, right? Most athletes like myself, we come from underprivileged communities. We come from communities that don't have much runway in terms of seeing what success looks like. And for us, even for myself as an example, I got to the NBA at the age of 19, did 1 year at University of Texas, and went from having nothing to having millions of dollars. And the best way to put it is like survivor's remorse, right? Once you make it, everyone from your neighborhood feels like they made it as well. So everyone's trying to pull and tug on you. And like you said, now these financial guys who you don't know, that don't look similar to anyone from your community, is coming in and telling you, hey, trust me, give me your money, and you shut your mouth and go play basketball. And I think it's crazy. Financial industry is the only industry in the world and the only sector in the world where you as an individual, when you make money, you are trusting a complete stranger and giving them that much control and right? Like, it's no different than me. I chose this shirt that I'm putting on today. No one told me to put this shirt on. For your guys' self, like your significant other, you chose the woman you wanted to marry or date. You chose the car you wanted to buy. Like, the financial industry is the only industry where you have to trust a stranger. And I think because if you watch the ESPN documents, the 30 for 30 about athletes going broke, it's because you're trusting a complete stranger and you don't know where their heart is. So I think that kind of motivated athletes to say, hey, let me take more ownership into my finance because we're making this for such a small window. Let me find out the tools and education where I can take my money and put into other financial institutions. And I think that's where Bitcoin really became a star, right? It became a star in its role, and it really helped athletes open their mind to say, hey, let me take, and I'm not here to give financial advice like everyone always says, but I think you have to diversify your portfolio, right? If you're just making, say, $1 million, you should take a good portion of it and buy yourself, whether it's ETH, Bitcoin, whatever those alts may be, because you just never know what could happen on a rainy day with these financial advisors, right? I think there's an article that just came out 2 days ago about Rashad Jones with the safety for the Miami Dolphins. He's suing Merrill Lynch, and they came to a settlement because that financial advisor stole money from him, right? So those stories are what's kind of pushing the narrative right now for athletes to take more ownership in their finance.
Yeah. What portion would you say, Tristan, of athletes are willing to do that or able to do that? Or like, what's necessary? Because it seems like it's super easy, as David says. You got a ton of financial advisors approaching you. You got to be one of the few that says, look, I'm not going to listen to this traditional advice, the guy in a suit coming to me and saying, hey, here are the safe assets to invest in. I'm going to learn. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to figure out maybe what this crypto thing is and what percentage of my portfolio to allocate. What percentage of athletes are like able and willing to do that? And what's their first step? Like, what do you recommend?
Yeah, I think it varies, right? Because honestly, so many former teammates have called me literally for the last 6 to 8 months, asking me for this information, asking like, hey, I want to get into crypto. I have this extra liquidity. I have this money. I want it to work and do something because I don't truly believe where it's sitting right now is actually giving me the best returns or the best upside. So what I say to guys is the advice that I'm going to give a rookie is totally different than a guy I'm going to give 10 years plus in the leagues, right? So for instance, with a rookie, right? You're on a rookie contract. Of course, you're going to have to, figure out, what's your overhead going to look like. But what I say for the rookies and the young guys, it's the money that you would spend for miscellaneous and leisure, allocate some of that money to that, right? So if out of your total contract or your biweekly paycheck, you set aside 10% of that for miscellaneous and leisure exposure, take 5%, take half of that and go open yourself a wallet and go do your deep dive, whether it's buying ETH, whether it's buying Bitcoin, whether it's buying Solana, XRP, do the education research and just save that money that you would spend at the nightclub, maybe a couple nights instead of going to the nightclub, you're buying, a digital asset, right? Use that to start building up your honeycomb savings where you're in full control, where no one's getting a fee, no one's getting a cut, and you're basically your own CEO. And I think when I tell guys that, they feel that motivation because I think more than anything else, athletes want to start feeling like their own boss. That's why if you see like LeBron, myself, Alex Rodriguez, Derek Jeter, Magic Johnson, right? We've all had this notion and this motivation to become our own boss because we see how these owners, how wealthy they become by taking risk and believing in themselves. Why can't we not do that? A guy that's more of a veteran that asks me these questions, a guy that's made over $100 million, I say, what's your risk appetite, right? Some guys like to go to Vegas and try to hit big. What's equivalent to Vegas in crypto is your perp trading and leverage trading, right? And it all depends on that. But I also tell guys take your USDC, take your stable and put it in safe yield protocols where you're going to make it 8 to 12%, right? There's great protocols that are safe, that are backed by amazing founders that have the liquidity that you're going to be protected as best as possible, right? It's all about diversifying. So that's what I tell guys. It's more based on your risk appetite. But I always preach to guys because, I'm a big pay it forward type of guy. And that's kind of been my niche in NBA, especially as I got older in this space and in the league. where I want to set guys up for success. Nothing would make me more happy than a guy stopping me at dinner or lunch and saying, Tristan, that advice you told me to go put it in a Moonwall USDC vault. I was able to, take care of my brother and his kids where they didn't have to worry about where the next check's coming from. I gave them that financial freedom.
Let's talk about those USDC vaults for a second, actually. And I want to bring you into this conversation here, Paul, because one of the benefits we've enjoyed in crypto and decentralized finance is yield. And we scored a big win under the Genius bill, and that was went through Congress this summer. And of course, there is the ability for exchanges and even DeFi protocols to provide yield on stablecoins. So you can get up to 3 to 4% yield, sometimes higher in DeFi. My understanding is that the banks right now, the bank lobby, they want to take back on this. So they basically are saying something to the effect of, oops, we screwed up. The bill that we negotiated in Congress, the Genius bill, had this thing that makes it such that we can no longer rent seek and get yield ourselves. And we want to close this door. And they're actively trying to do that as part of market structure bill. You guys have been a bit on the offensive, Coinbase has, in making sure that they don't get to close the ability of retail to get their interest, their yield, and their rewards on things like stablecoins. Can you talk about that battle that you're having in DC right now and the shape of it?
Well, it's a really remarkable turn of events because it wasn't that long ago that when the Genius Act was passed and we finally had legislation on stablecoins, that we had a consensus. Democrats and Republicans alike supported the idea that customers were entitled to rewards, period, end stop, and that they shouldn't be denied some portion of the economic returns coming from those stablecoins in the form of rewards. Here's the critical thing that really has me baffled. This was not some deal cut in some back room by a few politicians or with a couple of people from one industry or another. This was the result of a very robust, comprehensive, complete conversation that involved all sorts of interests, including those of the big banks, because they were absolutely hell-bent on keeping one privilege entirely for themselves, which was the ability to issue interest to their account holders. Issuers of stablecoins can't do that as drafted, but what was preserved was the ability for distributors like Coinbase, but many others, to pay rewards out. So, to come back now, months after the fact, and as we're trying to push forward comprehensive legislation on market structure and try to sneak back in a take back of that ability to issue rewards, we just think is disingenuous and frankly disrespectful to all of the elected members of Congress who work so hard to forge a reasonable compromise. I don't think they're going to get away with it. I think Congress and the Senate in particular is well aware of what's going on here. They can see it for themselves. But it's important for us to all call out this anti-consumer, anti-customer behavior for what it is, and to preserve people's ability to earn rewards on their stable coins, just as, by the way, banks issue rewards to their customer holders. When, for example, you take a credit card out and you earn some miles on United or Delta or whatever, that's exactly what they're doing, and yet they're somehow arguing that it's anti-consumer when it comes to stablecoins. We just don't think that applies.
So you think we're going to win this war, Paul, which is good. Can you give us the shape of kind of the rivalry in DC? Because, I mean, it seems like the bank lobby has kind of run that down for a while, and crypto is much more the new kid on the block, right? We've just sort of started to have a presence, I would say, in much thanks to Coinbase for being part of the vanguard here in the 2024 election. And that was the first time it felt like DC felt the presence of crypto, fighting on behalf of crypto users' rights. But it's the bank lobby. Like, they've been there for a long time. They are well funded. They're almost a quasi-public institution at this point in time. Maybe we win this battle, but they're not going away. And there are things within DeFi and crypto that are completely going to disrupt and dismantle what they do. And are they going to take that lying down? Like, how are we positioned as far as like Team Crypto versus Team Bank right now?
Well, there's a lot for Team Crypto to be proud of. If you look back to the results of the election last fall, we elected the most pro-crypto Congress in history. We obviously have a very pro-crypto presidential administration. As a result of that, we've been able to get legislation passed on a bipartisan basis, at a time when, there's very little happening in Washington on a bipartisan basis. So there is, I think, a lot for all of us, not just Coinbase, to be proud of. But I think it would be a huge mistake for anyone in crypto to assume that the battle's over and that we can just rest on our laurels. You are absolutely right. The big banks are formidable. We have to respect their prowess and their skill, and they're not just going to sit back and take this lying down going forward. They're going to continue to press for the imposition of rules that would constrain crypto, keep crypto on the sidelines from the financial system, and deny athletes like Tristan and others, but all Americans, real choice and real opportunity for financial freedom. I think the main thing for everyone to pay attention to is, in passing this legislation, are we enacting standards and adopting rules that serve people's interests, serve regular people's interests, or are we simply cutting deals in order for the traditional financial service providers to maintain their position of influence? I don't think there's any question that when you now have tens of millions of Americans, 52 million Americans or more, who have owned a digital asset of one type or one stripe, that elected officials have no choice but to continue to pay attention to that constituency. And so I think we're going to see reasonable, sensible legislation passed, but we have to absolutely be vigilant. We can't go back to the way things were just a short while ago.
Tristan, when people get into crypto, they tend to pick a character class. Now, mine and Ryan's character is we like blockchain architecture, and we also kind of like the legal fight, the political fight. That's the stuff that we like to talk to Paul here about. But then there's also plenty of other characters in crypto, right? The traders, the meme coin investors, the perp dex traders, more recently prediction market traders, a lot of trading. When you how tapped into like the crypto circus are you? Like, what's your crypto character class? What do you pay attention to?
Everything. I think that
the whole
everything.
thing.
No, it's because it's the key, right? I think what I always preach to people, especially for myself, right? You have your institution side, so your guys like Paul and the guys that are in Washington and getting bills passed, legislation, and forward moving the movement from institutional side. But also, you can't forget about, like they say, our DGen and our trenchers, right? I think they're all important because it's a team, right? I think our goal at the end of the day is to elevate this digital finance or digital freedom, and everyone plays a significant role. And anything I talk about, I always bring it back to team aspect, right? Like Paul, he's the go-to guy, right? He's like LeBron, but in order for LeBron to win, he's got to have, the Tristan Thompsons, the J.R. Smith, the Kevin Loves. Everyone plays a key factor, because for us to elevate, it's going to come from all of us from within, because we all want the same thing. And for me, it's important. Every morning, I'm on CT and I'm staying up to date with the culture, because the one thing about this space, the trend is always changing and it's moving very fast, right? One day it's AI, next thing you know, it's the neobanks. Next thing you know, it just changes so much. Then you got plasma come out of nowhere, then you'll have a plasma 2.0. It's like you just gotta always stay at top of the game, because I think, especially for me, and the fact that a lot of people have reached out and kind of that are inquiring from the Web2 space, inquiring about crypto, I think it's important for me, as being a vessel and someone that takes a lot of pride in moving the space forward. I have to be well-versed. And I take a lot of ownership, especially, like everyone, right? If I'm going to do something, I'm going to be 2 feet in. And I've chose to do that in Web3 and crypto, because I get an excitement. It gives me the same adrenaline rush that I did, or that I had for like a Game 7 in NBA Finals. That's what crypto gives me. That burning sensation inside. So
is that why you're here? That's why I'm here. I'm here for the risk. I'm here for the adrenaline.
Well, it's the excitement of what the future will look like for me, right? Like the future that I see in the space, right? I like to tie it to the early .com era, or even later than that, or even before that, the early gold rush era, right? It's important to be well versed, right? And like, I have friends that are trenchers that are trading all day on Axiom, and then I have friends like, a friend of mine, Bo Hines and Eric Trump, where we're sitting down talking about what's next for the space and how can, whether it's USAT, what their goal is, or with American Bitcoin, what Eric is doing over there. So I want to be full versed, and I think I've been very fortunate to be able to be in these different rooms and be accepted. I think the one thing is that, when I came into space, what's the narrative? You know what the narrative is, right? Celebrities coming in, and I actually hate the word celebrity. It's like, no, I'm just a guy that had success in a different realm. And now I'm entering a new chapter of my life where I want to position myself to be something that people could be proud of and myself be proud of. So, when I walk in the room, everyone's like, okay, what's this meme token? What's the CA? And what's he going to extract this time? But it's like, no, guys, no. I'm actually here to do like the right thing and like help everyone be great, but more so onboard people, right? Like that's where I see my calling, right? It's almost being like the Malcolm X, almost being like the person that pushes the humanity forward in a grander scale. So for me, I think if you're going to be in here, you got to know everything, whether it's what's the yield on Aerodrone right now, or when Jerome Powell's about to make an announcement and everyone, you see whales shorting BTC, right? Like you got to know everything in this space. So that's been my approach.
But if you had to pick one, like one app or one activity, whether it's like speculating on meme coins or maybe it's yield farming, yield optimization, or airdrop farming, like what's your favorite thing to do?
I would say this. If you asked me 3 months ago, I was a big like DeFi, like I was sitting in like 6 Aerodrome pools. I'm probably sitting in about 3 now, but I was probably in like 6 Aerodrome pools. It was like a USDC, CBBTC, USDC, ETH, or ETH BTC pool. But now, I understand more about the space and educating where, I've done a little bit of perp trading. I like a little Las Vegas from time to time. Who doesn't, right? Who doesn't like to hang out with their friends and take a roller there? But what I always tell people, and I think what happened on Friday was that a lot of people learned that I come from a world where I came from nothing and I refuse to go back home with nothing. So I always tell people, if you want to get into that leverage trading, it's fun, but don't put your whole life savings in it. That's just not even smart as an adult. I have kids. I have responsibilities. I'm not doing this. So that's kind of
it sounds like you're managing things somewhat like us, which is like you got a buy and hold portion of your portfolio and you've got like a degen portion of your portfolio where you're having fun and doing things. I want to ask you about this. So you talked about like being on Aerodrome, being on these, liquidity pools and DeFi, that sort of thing. How hard do you find it, right? Like if you're talking to an average, NBA pro athlete or something like that, like obviously their first step is to buy some crypto on an exchange like Coinbase, but right? Like could they get to the level of doing the things that you're doing and opening a Coinbase wallet and going into DeFi and earning yield that way? Or do you find it's still too it's too nerdy. It's like too hard. The edges are too rough. Like how far have we come on this is easy to use for the everyday person front?
Well, for me, it definitely took some time. I took myself to crypto Web3 school, and I actually hired like tutors to literally teach me from, what is an L1? What is DeFi? What's DPIN? What's the purpose? I took the time and research to learn that. So when I talk to, friends of mine or the Web2 community, I like to explain to them in vocabulary that's digestible for them to understand, because it's not as complicated as it may seem. It's more so if you can just show them examples. And what I love is like, I even have guys that will call me and I'll just go on, Google Meets and I'll share my screen and show them how to get in and out of pools and show them how to swap and open a Coinbase wallet and go about that and remember your password and not know Kevin Durant. I love KD. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for about 20 years. And I'm like, we don't want those scary moments, right? Paul's like, yeah, we had that on stage. We got a good clip of that. But no, I think for us leaders in the space, we just got to do and just keep improving how we articulate it, right? Because, the one thing when I sit on these calls or I'm in TGs or I'm on these calls with these founders, that you guys are building amazing tech. You guys are doing things that people would go to the end of the world to discover. But the problem is they don't know how to verbalize and articulate in a way where their aunt and uncle can digest it. Because one thing about human beings, you guys all know this. If you're using big words that I don't understand, I'm tuning you out. So for me, it's being able to articulate that and explain to them. And I've been able to help teammates, whether it's opening up yield pools, whether it's teaching them how to stake, or just teaching them how to open up a wallet and just buy and bridging and swap fees, right? Just like, here, keep swapping. Don't just take the first swap fee option that they give to you. Don't negotiate it, right? Just in life. So it's possible. We just got to keep more familiar faces. Being able to give that financial literacy is going to help this runway pick up at an ultra fast pace.
Yeah, one of the cool things we've seen, Paul, this year has been just actually regulatory window open up where Coinbase can do some cooler things. David and I affectionately call this like the DeFi mullet, which is you have like fintech and finance in the front, but you have the party in the back. You got the DeFi in the back. And we've been seeing Coinbase do more and more of that. Basically, like just integrate trading pairs from decentralized exchanges on Base, for example, into the main Coinbase wallet, or allow for enhanced DeFi yield opportunities, or even allow for staking within the app. One of the jurisdictions, states in the country that seems like the last one to onboard is actually David's home state right now of New York. And so even there was a recent press release I saw from Coinbase, which is like October 8th, starting today, New Yorkers can stake their crypto on Coinbase. Starting today, October 2025, I've been able to do this from Virginia for like years within Coinbase. I wanted to ask you a regulatory question, right? Why is New York, which is supposed to be the center of finance in not only America, but the world, why are they so behind on crypto? Why is it that DeFi, David can't do the DeFi mullet thing in a Coinbase wallet because he lives in New York City right now?
I should say maybe one of the reasons why I like your analogy so much is because it wasn't that long ago, as a much younger man, I had a real mullet. So
No way. We need pics. We need pictures. This is incredibly bullish.
Pre-TikTok, so good luck finding it, but it's out there.
Oh, man. Okay, you heard them, internet. Okay, we're going to find this.
The album, where's his yearbook? Where's his yearbook, guys?
Yeah, we're going to find this now.
We're not going to go there.
You just unleashed something.
But listen, look, I think that on the question of New York, which is obviously slightly more serious than my high school mullet, the fact of the matter is that New York has historically been one of the most innovative jurisdictions for reform and innovation and regulation. Right? It was the state that came up with the whole concept of the BIT license, and Coinbase was really the first BIT licensee of any stature, going back now over a decade or more. And the fact is that New York did finally come around and authorize Coinbase to offer staking to our customers just in the last week. But I think in between those 2 points in time, you're right that I think it has struggled to keep pace with the innovation that we've seen elsewhere, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And I think, part of that may just be, resourcing at the agency. There are so many regulated entities subject to New York jurisdiction that I think the New York DFS has a unique challenge in making sure that it has the right resources to oversee all that activity. And yet, our attitude has always been we're not going to get overly frustrated, even where we've had our challenges in New York. We're going to keep at it. It is a critical market. We have a lot of customers there and a lot of people who want to do more with their crypto than they're currently able to do. And so, I think in situations like this, you have to just exhibit a bit of grace and patience. I hope you all saw that in our fight with the SEC. We tried to focus on our legal disagreements, even though we recognize there are a lot of good people there who were trying to do the right thing, but that maybe were stepped on by the previous political leadership at the agency. And I think that, at the SEC in New York and elsewhere, often patience is rewarded. And so that's really the attitude we've had as we've tried to pursue something much more long-term than just, rushing out products and services that may be of the moment.
Imagine a world where traditional finance meets the power of blockchain seamlessly. That's what MANTLE is pioneering with blockchain for banking, a revolutionary new category at the intersection of TradFi and Web3. At the heart is UR, the world's first money app built fully on-chain. It gives you a Swiss IBAN account, blending fiat currencies like the euro, the Swiss franc, the United States dollar, or the renminbi with crypto, all in one place. Enjoy real-world usability and blockchain's trust and programmability. Transactions post directly to the blockchain, compatible with TradFi rails, and packed with integrated DeFi features. UR transforms MANTLE Network into the ultimate platform for on-chain financial services, unifying payments, trading, and assets like the MI4, the METH protocol, and Functions FBTC, backed by developer grants, ecosystem incentives, and top distribution through the UR app, reward stations, and Bybit launch pool. For MNT holders, every economic activity in UR drives value back to you, embodying the entire stack and future growth of this super app ecosystem. Follow MANTLE on X at @MANTLE_official for the latest updates on blockchain for banking. That's x.com/mantle_official. Introducing KGEN, aka Verify, the world's largest verified distribution protocol, or VDP. If you're trying to grow a real protocol or app, you need real users doing real actions. If it's not Verify, it's just noise. At the core of Verify is Poggy, KGEN's identity and reputation framework. It helps you reach humans, not bots, and proves what your users actually did, so your budget goes to the right people. With Verify, you can run verified user acquisition with confidence, keeping people coming back with retention tools like loyalty rewards, quests and achievements, and even power AI training and evaluation using trusted, verified user groups, ensuring your models learn from clean data. And when it's time to reward your community, there's the K-Store, a global rewards marketplace where users can redeem perks that connect directly back to your app. Put simply, when growth is built on real users, you grow faster, and that's exactly what Verify delivers. If you're building a Web3, AI, or gaming, request a demo to grow your protocol at www.kgen.io/demo. That's www.kgen.io/demo. Paul, I'm curious if Coinbase, you probably can't answer this, but I'm going to ask you anyways. I'm curious if Coinbase has any prediction market plans. Robinhood has integrated Kalshi into their front end. There's our prediction markets on Base. I could imagine the mullet could grow in the prediction market direction. Do you have any sort of information you could give us about this?
Well, what I can say is that it's hard to ignore, the excitement around prediction markets. There's no question about it that, this idea that has been around for a long time. And I remember reading papers about prediction markets going back years and years ago, is now definitely something that's captured, the public's attention. And so, we are certainly paying careful attention to that. And anything that continues to bring people online and on chain, we view as a good thing. And so when we see Kalshi, Poly, and others, getting real traction in the market, we congratulate them. We wish them continued success, and we absolutely will continue to pay careful attention, to how our customers are interacting with these other products and services in ways that we think are ultimately going to benefit crypto as a whole.
Are you a user of any prediction markets? Do you like to, if you like to watch sports, do you like to also have your laptop open with a prediction market on the side while you watch the sports?
Well, I have been known to wager a bit on sports from time to time.
Have you ever made a wager that is of a direct relationship to whether or not Tristan wins a game?
I would never bet against Tristan if that's what you're asking.
Has Tristan made you money?
My man.
What Tristan has done is bring me joy, which is much more important than money.
Peace and happiness, Paul, right? Peace and happiness.
100%. And no amount of money can buy the joy of seeing your team in your city finally win a title after decades of utter futility. So this goes way beyond what, a couple of extra bucks from a parlay that hits can do. But look, I will say that what is, I think, maybe most exciting about prediction markets is less, the ability to bet on the Cavs or the Browns or any other team that you may be rooting for. I think it's much more about distributing information and making instantly available globally information that used to, only recently be in the hands of a couple of people or maybe even just one person at any point in time. That's where I think, the real potential of this thing hits. It's to go beyond just wagering to providing a whole new way of distributing information that is extraordinarily powerful and efficient. And, that long-term potential, as much as anything, is what has us excited about the future of prediction markets.
Tristan, we're seeing, I don't know if it's a war yet, but I'm predicting a collision between prediction markets and sports betting platforms like FanDuel and the other one. I don't.
DraftKings?
DraftKings, yeah.
Thank you. Just from the pro athlete perspective, what do you guys think about those platforms? Like, do you care about them? Do you think they're great? Like, what's the take? I don't really know.
What I love about the prediction market, and what I love more is that it's empowering communities, right? I think that's, especially coming from the athletic background, what's the one thing we always preach, that our fans and our community are number one. Without our fans, we're nobody, right? But the cool thing about the prediction market is that people can come together with an idea or a thought or a sentiment and really stand on that, believe it, preach about it, and it actually comes to light, right? And it's actually, the way I look at it right now is that these platforms are becoming disruptors to the CNN, the Fox News, the BBC, the Al Jazeera's. And I love that, right? Because that's what crypto's about. That's what Web3 is about, right? We're becoming disruptors in the space, but being disruptors because we know what's out there that could be better and improved, right? And I think it's kind of like these financial advisors, right? They're just old dogs that don't want to learn new tricks. They take your money, go to Fidelity and say, here, sit down and just be enjoying, right? So like prediction market, it's a way to challenge the general media because at the end of the day, like we all know, CNN, they promote stuff that is one side. Fox News promotes something that's another side. But with prediction markets and these platforms, it allows for us, let's all take off the gloves and let's just have a real honest conversation. And how do we really effing feel? And what you notice is that the way the community comes together and has an idea, it's kind of right more than 50% of the time. So it's like, okay, this is onto something. That's why, you know, the New York Stock Exchange, that's why they made that investment in Polymarket, right? Like, because they see what the future is like. They see how strong a community can move the needle with the result in the world.
Last night, I was watching my Seattle Mariners play Ryan's Canadian Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays.
I'm from Toronto, by the way, so I'm very upset about this. We're down 0-2, guys.
Wow.
I'm sick to my stomach. I'm sick.
Just for a little bit of context for the listener, the Mariners won 10-3, and there was a 3-run home run that took Mariners from 3-3 to 6-3. And I pull open my phone and I refresh the Polymarket page, and the odds had already updated. By the time it took me to pull open my phone and refresh the page, the odds had already updated to like 80-20 to the Mariners, which is just great. It's just like a second thing to look at.
We get it, man. We get it, David. We get it.
Stop bragging, dude.
The great part was just like the real-time nature of just everything. I've never been a sports betting participant. I don't really know if there was that level of participation that was allowable by sports betting because there's a sports book, not a Polymarket. Like Polymarket is a marketplace. A sports book is just a book. Now, like I don't know if you have an opinion as to like if like sports books are better than prediction markets or prediction markets are better than sports books. Maybe they just both give fans ways to participate in, just beyond just watching the sports. Maybe you're like, oh yeah, both are great. I don't know. Do you have an opinion on which one should win if there is a incoming collision between these two platforms?
Well, I think the way that the world's turning and the way that the world's progressing, I honestly truly believe that, you know, prediction markets will essentially have a high chance of taking over these sports books, right? Because these sports books are all just based on somebody. It's almost like when you look at like fantasy sports, when you make your team, right? Like ESPN, FanDuel, they give you these numbers, they give you these projections, but you don't even know who the person is, right? You don't even know their credibility, right? And they really don't even when I like to say, like, I honestly believe that there is a guy at home right now that knows more information about basketball or baseball than who's sitting on ESPN that's supposed to be that sports analyst. And it's being shown day in and day out right now where people are now tuning in to these prediction markets to get their news, data, and information than turning on the TV. So I really, truly believe that what's going to happen? No different than what the institutions are like, we can't beat you guys, so we're going to try to figure out a way to join you and like try to have a collab and offer you a lot because you're getting too powerful because we don't want to become obsolete and become irrelevant. So I think that's what's going to happen, that, you know, your Caesars, your MGMs, they're going to come to these prediction market platforms and say, hey, we need you to be part of this. Let's do a collab because we know that the Gen Z, the people that are 16 or 18 to 25, they don't care to go to Vegas and sit at the MGM and do the sports book and look there all day. But what they will do is open a laptop and get on Twitter and make the predictions and give their thoughts and ideas.
Paul, what's the current state with prediction market regulation? So one thing that's been super interesting to David and I as we've explored the subject, particularly with respect to, as Tristan was saying, how prediction markets are kind of taking over sports betting, is the different licensing regimes and regulatory regimes that they fall under. So like a FanDuel's or DraftKings, you have to get a gaming license on a state-by-state basis, right? It's almost like a casino because you're betting against the book. With prediction markets, they are now open across states, regulated by a federal entity, the CFTC. So they can come in under the CFTC, kind of like, I don't know, futures, derivatives types of licensing and be available to everyone. It's again, because you're not betting against a centralized operator. It's a peer-to-peer prediction marketplace. It truly is a marketplace. But what's the state of play there? Because I know there are some in halls of government who would stop that if they could. That is, they would block prediction markets entirely, might even want to block them from the political arena, but certainly they'd want to block them from kind of the sports prediction market arena. Are we safe there with respect to our regulation? Are there some battles that are coming? Is there any legislation that you see in the works?
Well, the battles aren't just coming, they're here right now. You've got active litigation in multiple federal courts over this pretty simple question, which is, does the CFTC, as the federal regulator of derivatives markets, have exclusive jurisdiction over prediction sites and their activities? Or is there still a role for state gaming commissions, in spite of what seems to me, at least, to be pretty plain language in the authorizing statute for the CFTC, which is the Commodity Exchange Act? So I think the courts are going to ultimately have to resolve this question because, look, the state gaming commissions have enjoyed a long run as a major venue for regulating gaming activities across the country. And yet, I think this new technology is fundamentally challenging that in ways that threaten that dominance that they've had. The Supreme Court's going to ultimately have to make the call there for sure. But I think the industry is on the right side of the law. Congress could always move to change that, but as we learn in crypto, getting legislation passed on almost anything is no small task. And in the meantime, I think what you're going to see is politically the pressure just continue to mount in favor of prediction markets, because as we saw with Bitcoin and ETH and cryptocurrencies more generally, once tens of millions of Americans make their preferences known by voting with their wallets and acquiring these things, politicians tend to fall in line because they want to continue to get reelected, and maybe only slightly more generously, they want to continue to serve the preferences and interests of the people who put them in office. So I do think that time is on the side of predictions markets. I think the law is absolutely on their side, and so between those two forces, I think we're going to see these things around and not just around, but thriving for many, many years to come.
How about leadership, though? We don't currently have a CFTC chair. Is that a very crucial position for this prediction markets piece?
I think it's certainly important, and I'm hopeful that the administration, working together with the Senate Ag Committee in particular, will fill the CFTC chair position quite soon. We've seen some names floated for that, and I'm extremely encouraged that the names that have been bandied about have all expressed strong support for sensible crypto regulation and strong support for the crypto industry more generally. So I think that's going to resolve itself soon. And in the meantime, we're seeing, the critical legislation goes beyond just prediction markets, but really implicates market structure as a whole, move forward. And hopefully we're going to see all this come to a head once Congress is back in session, once we get past this shutdown in just a matter of a few months.
I'm sure there's a prediction market out there on who the next CFTC chair is. So
sure
everyone, Bankless listeners can make their bets.
I vote Paul.
Yeah, Paul, you could be in the running.
I vote Paul.
Or yeah, well, we have a fantastic SEC chair right now, but maybe in the future consider that position as well. And actually, Paul, you mentioned kind of market structure in the Senate. So just last week, it seemed like, okay, so market structure, of course, we had the Clarity Bill in the House that passed. Now the Senate wants to they have the not invented here syndrome. So they want to make their own, draft of this. So they're doing that. The Republican version looked pretty good. But now last week, it seemed like the Democratic senators kicked back a version that would effectively, I haven't looked at all the language, but effectively it feels like it will ban DeFi in the United States. So it's kind of the thing like all DeFi protocols are intermediaries. So are software developers. So are the front ends, all of this anti-crypto army stuff that we've dealt with in the past. I thought that was behind us, but now Democratic senators are coming up with this version of the bill. So what does that indicate to you? That we still have some battles ahead? Do senators not know that the anti-crypto army got defeated in 2024 and that it's a bad position to do it? Or Are they just trying to torpedo market structure in general?
Well, I think it's important to take a step back and remember that nearly 300 members of the House of Representatives, including something like 78 Democrats, voted in favor of clarity. And so, there's a clear bipartisan consensus that market structure legislation makes sense. And in the Senate, what I would say is about the proposal that was leaked just a few days ago that you referenced. While it's certainly not something we would ever support, and in fact, Coinbase has been quite loud and quite active in opposing any efforts to unduly restrain DeFi and its continued growth. I think, the most I can say is it shows that, we now have both sides once again engaging on the issue. And while there's a lot of work that remains to be done, and while I think it's critically important that we continue to protect DeFi from overburdensome regulation that would kill it before it's even really had a chance, we shouldn't lose heart or lose sight of the progress that we've made. It's going to take some time. We're going to have to work through some of these issues with the leadership on both sides of the aisle, but we're going to get there. We did it before. We're going to do it again. And I'm confident we're going to keep DeFi protected even as we move forward with the broader legislation.
Getting into more prediction market subjects, Tristan, you're building an app that is an integration of prediction markets, sports, and fantasy. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, it's called Basketball.fun, and for me, I've being in the space, I've always had the builder mentality, right? You have to build yourself up to become an NBA player. I wasn't lucky to wake up one morning and be who I was. Right? It took time, it took practice, it took multiple hours of refining my game to put myself in a position to be where I'm at, and it's no different than in crypto and Web3, right? So I wanted to build something to basically improve where I saw there was a flaw, and really from this whole conversation we've been having is challenging what has been written or been around for a long period of time and saying there's better, there's a more efficient way. And what I created was basically empowering the fans to really show the true value of a player. And that's what Basketball.fun is, right? And of course, it's being on chain, so we're allowed to do a lot more creative things, but allowing every player to be a tradable digital asset, right? And basically,
are you tokenizing players?
Yeah, tokenizing players.
Tokenizing players.
Yes, we're
tokenizing
how does that
players.
Work? So the way it works is that every player in the NBA that's on an active roster will basically be tokenized. And the way we do it, the way that we're coming out with version 1, because we want to basically put in stages, right? I think anything you create, you want to have a roadmap, right? So stage 1 is, and how we're doing is we're tokenizing every player, and we're allowing the people to determine the value, kind of very similar to a meme token, right? Every player is basically a meme token, and you're able to buy, sell, and trade players based on their performance. It could be performance, but it also could be based on popularity, sentiment, their value, right? Because I think the NBA or ESPN or ESPN's fantasy apps, they're going to determine the valuable player just based on performance, right? And I think that's the wrong way to look at it, right? I think the way you do the value of a player, it's a full scope, right? Of course, performance is a big thing, but you also have, for some people, how they are in the community means a lot, right? Or how they interact with their families, or how they even dress, right? Fashion has become such a huge thing in the NBA and in sports, where guys' popularity has been driven based on what they're wearing. So for us, we're allowing a marketplace for people to come on this platform, and whether, I'll give an example. If a guy in Miami loves Khalil Ware, he's a second-year player, doesn't have the biggest name, doesn't have that, but people in Miami understand his value to that team. So you come on the platform, you'll buy shares, but we also did it where it was pretty cool, where you can open packs, right? Because I want to give you that nostalgic moment, like back when we were 8 years old, when our parents would take us on the weekend to go open a trading card pack, and we'd get excited that we got, for Paul, being excited to get a Hot Rod Williams pack or a rookie Brad Daugherty pack, right? So like we want to give that nostalgic moment, because I think that's very important in sports, is that adrenaline rush moment. But getting to the technological aspect, the token aspect, is that we want people to be able to buy early, believe in a player early, because I think I'll use Ty Drum as an example, a player on my team. Going into the season last year, he was probably ranked in the 300s out of 400 players, right? He was probably near the bottom, right? Because what happened the year before, right? But imagine that one kid that really loved Ty Jerome, that went to University of Virginia, said, hey, I'm going to buy a bunch of shares of Ty Jerome because I truly believe he's going to have a breakout year. And so happened, he finished third in Sixth Man of the Year. that token goes up, that market cap goes up. No different than buying a meme token. And you look like the guru that had, I almost want to encourage who really knows basketball and who knows the game on a deeper level more than just a generic NBA Today, all those TV shows that just only promote the good players. Guys, we already know LeBron's good. He's been doing it for 23 years. Tell me a guy that's going to be the next up-and-coming star where a guy believes in him, buys his token, and he becomes a star, market cap goes up, people make money, and it makes it way more of exciting than just the standard fantasy over and under old school BS.
This is very cool. So this is called Basketball.fun. I believe it'll be out on May the 22nd. Is that the release date?
Yeah, so we're launching opening week of the NBA season. And the reason why we did that is because, like you guys know, and anyone that does fantasy, is that the week before the season starts, you don't know what happens at preseason. Guys can get hurt, guys can get injured, guys can be having a great preseason. Another example, Thompson, that plays for Houston Rockets. He's been having a stellar preseason where they're saying he could be a potential all-star, right? So the reason I want to do it is because everyone's going to be in that mode of that fantasy, gambling, prediction market space the week before season starts. So I'm like, this is the perfect time to drop it because that's when the iron's going to be hot and guys are going to be ready, like they say in the trenches, ready to cook.
Yeah, very good. And that's, of course, it's a EVM chain. So it's going to get more people on chain using our wallets like Rabby and the Coinbase wallet, of course, and MetaMask and all of these things. So it sounds fantastic. We'll include a link in the show notes so people can figure that out. Paul, I think we're at the end of this episode, but I have absolutely no segue for this next question. So I'm just going to flat out ask you, okay?
Just throw it out there.
What is up with Gary Gensler's deleted texts? Was the guy seriously deleting his texts while in office? And do we have any recourse for this? That's our conclusion question. So take us home here, Paul.
Oh boy, that's a heck of a segue. Look, there is zero question that Gary Gensler's text records of the SEC were destroyed. And they were destroyed at a time where the SEC had an absolute obligation under U.S. law to preserve them for a whole host of reasons. And this isn't just me speculating about this. The SEC has something called an Office of Inspector General, which is kind of an internal investigator who's responsible for looking into these issues when people raise questions. And the Office of Inspector General at the SEC issued a scathing report confirming that all sorts of records were deleted and destroyed despite those orders to preserve them. And, as you guys know, we've had active litigation against the SEC now for some time where we've been looking to get those records because it was relevant to all sorts of open questions that remain about the Gensler enforcement regime, even though Gary is now, long in the rearview mirror. And so we're pressing a federal district court in Washington to allow us to continue to investigate this issue, get access to those decisions that were made and information around them, so we can shine a bright light on this and make sure it doesn't happen again. And it's not just about vengeance or ill feelings about what happened over the last 4 years. It's mostly and for us at Coinbase entirely about making sure this never happens again. And the best way you can make sure something doesn't happen again is to shine a big bright light on what happened in the past and make sure that everybody knows about it. So we're going to keep at it.
Paul, do you remember April Fool's Day 2023 on crypto Twitter?
I do.
Do you remember what I'm referring to right now?
Well, I think you're referring to the announcement or the premature announcement about ETF approvals, if I'm not mistaken.
No. Maybe it was 2022. It's 2023 or 2022. Gary Gensler put on the Deal With It sunglasses on his profile picture.
I try not to remember those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, I don't get mad very often, but when I saw that, I got mad because to me that was an admission of guilt from Gary Gensler. Who else is on Twitter engaging with Gary Gensler? What other community is giving Gary Gensler all of his engagement? It's the crypto community. Totally. And when you put on the Just Deal With It glasses on April Fool's Day, which gives you the deniability, it's like, it's just April Fool's. To me, that was an admission of guilt. And I know that you are a lawyer and you will say, well, technically, that's not an admission of guilt. That was an admission of guilt.
See, I love, David, that the trolling from Gary Gensler is worse for you than the potentially illegal stuff he was doing.
I'm not sure that would be on the top, in the top 5 things that I had a problem with during the Gensler regime. But I hear you. I feel you. And look, I mean, Well, only slightly more seriously, guys. Like, this would be funny if it weren't, our government. These are the officials who are appointed and elected to represent and serve us, who were doing these things in our name. And so, it would be as bad as if somebody were to, kneecap Tristan on the floor and ruin his career as a result, and then, post a jokey meme about it. This isn't funny. Real people got hurt in real ways. And so, while I was never much a fan of Gary's humor regardless, I think it's really, really important that we hold the people responsible for all that activity.
Yeah, we had bad refs. At the end of the day, we had bad refs. Guys, this was a fantastic episode. Love, Tristan, what you're doing from the bottom up, building that interest in crypto, and Paul, what you're doing from the top down in the halls of our government. This has been really fun to have you both on this collaborative episode. So stop by again soon.
Thanks, guys.
No, I appreciate having us. Thank you so much. Paul, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're making Northeast Ohio proud, making us proud.
Thank you, Tristan.
That's right.
And keep doing what you're doing. We're proud of all that you made happen for Northeast Ohio and for crypto.
Oh, thank you.
Tristan, when does Basketball.fun open up?
So the opening week is opening week of the season, so October 22nd.
Cool.
So be on the lookout.
Here we go, guys.
It's coming up.
None of this has been financial advice, hasn't been sports advice either. You could lose what you put in, but we are headed west. This is the frontier. It's not for everyone, but we're glad you're with us on the bankless journey. Thanks a lot.